So lovely to have everybody here today. We are going to begin what is going to become a 4-week brand new series, beginning with lesson 1 today. And it is inspired by a meditation that is frequently instructed from the Plum Village tradition, which is whose main teacher is Thich Nhat Hanh, the Tibetan Buddhist monk. And I'll tell you all about it, but we are going to begin in child's pose near the front of your mat, which is a little bit rare. So child's pose near the front of your mat. And we'll spend the first about 2.5 to 3 minutes here. So I want you to get comfortable if you need to widen the knees or kind of maybe bring the arms alongside you. I'm going to stay sitting upright for this opening kind of grounding pose so that I can share a little bit about this series and what we're going to be working with. So today's practice is entitled Fresh as a Flower, and it is inspired by the first element of the pebble meditation. A very common practice in the Plum Village tradition is the pebble meditation, which is a very simple meditation that's often used to teach children abstract qualities by using very real and familiar objects, like a pebble. And each of the 4 pebbles in this meditation represents an object and its qualities. And the first of those pebbles is a flower. And so Thich Nhat Hanh explains that the point is that when you practice breathing in and out, you have to transform yourself into a real flower. Fresh, beautiful, light. And so as you spend about another 1.5 minutes here in child's pose at the front of your mat, you might think of your body almost like a seed, the seed of a flower. Thich Nhat Hanh continues to explain that it's not necessarily because we want to be something else, but he explains that the human being is actually like a kind of flower in the garden of humanity. He uses the example of a child. And when you look at the face of a child, their whole face and body is like a flower. You get great pleasure in it. And yet as grown-ups, many of us do not know how to maintain our freshness, our flowerness. We get angry, we get depressed, we lose some of those qualities of the flower. Maybe we're even no longer pleasant to our loved ones. And so we must recover our flowerness. We must reconnect to our inner nature so that we can be fresh and beautiful and light and simply present. Let's take 3 more breaths here. As you breathe in, you might just say, just in your own mind, flower. And as you breathe out, fresh. Breathing in flower. And breathing out fresh. And then like you're a little flower bud beginning to grow from its seed, you can start to press up out of your child's pose. We're going to immediately come to Uttanasana, so you can lean forward just enough to tuck your toes. Let the soles of your feet find the mat and start to move into a dangling position. You can take your feet quite wide here, and you might allow some gentle swaying in the upper body, really emphasizing some length in the back of the neck as you let the crown of the head drop towards the floor. The chin actually moves towards the sternum or the front of the chest slightly, so the back of the neck gets long and spacious. And we just take a couple of more breaths, just kind of swaying from side to side, letting the backs of the legs gently open up. And then we'll begin to lift the head slightly so you're looking down near your toes. Walk your feet in so that they're right underneath your hip points, parallel to each other. Soften the knees a little bit. Bring your hands up to your hips. And then lengthening the spine out, slowly make your way up to your first mountain pose, finding yourself at the front of the mat. I'm just going to face you for this very gentle standing warm-up. We'll begin by just synchronizing our movement and our breath. So as you inhale, sweep your arms forward and up towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, let the arms sweep forward and back down alongside you. And do that a couple more times, sweeping the arms forward and up towards the ceiling. And exhaling forward and arms down. And do that one more time. This is so simple. See if you can really synchronize the breath with the movement. Exhaling all the way as the arms come forward and down. We're going to add just an add-on of a lifting and lowering of the heels. So as you inhale, arms reach forward and up, heels lift as you rise up onto the balls of the feet. Exhale, arms float down, heels lower down. Take that 2 more times, inhaling, synchronizing movement and breath. And exhaling forward and down. Take that 1 more time, reaching the arms forward, all the way up. And forward and all the way down. Take the hands up to the waist, widen your feet a little bit wider than hip distance apart, making some big circles, almost like we're tracing the perimeter of the petals of a flower as we turn the torso to the right. Start to fold forward, down, slightly to the left. Maybe there's a little kind of back bend at the top as you're like drawing a big circle with your body. Down, to the left, up, a little back bend at the top. 1 more time in this direction. So when we think about the imagery of a flower, and we think about how flowers are given to us, move in the opposite direction with these big upper body circles, taking your time for 3 of these big counterclockwise upper body circles. Flowers are things that we give in all sorts of occasions, happy, sad, and everything in between. We give corsages, as we have coming of age rituals like homecoming or prom, flowers at weddings, but also flowers at funerals or when someone's expressing sympathy. Starting to stand back up, finding your way to the front of your mat with your feet together in your mountain pose. We start to move into 2 half salutations, circle sweep the arms out and up. Exhaling, fold forward. Inhale, lifting up halfway. There's this incredible quality of flowers. Fold in. Sweep the arms out and up to bring comfort and beauty. And just be there. Hands into heart center. 2 more half salutations. Sweep the arms out and up. Folding over the legs. The flower asks nothing of us. It actually just shows up with its full presence. Lift halfway. And it holds space for whatever we're feeling. Fold in. Sweep the arms out and up. Offers its beauty, its pleasantness, hands to heart center. Its freshness, sweep the arms out and up. Folding over the legs. And in many ways, that's the same way we can approach our practice, lifting up halfway, coming without expectation, just showing up with our full presence, fold over the legs. Sweeping the arms out and up, taking great joy in the abilities of the body in this moment without clinging. Sweep the arms out and up, moving through 2 basic sun salutations, folding over the legs. We'll lead with the left as we step the left foot towards the back of the mat. Melt the left knee down. Inhale, sweep the arms up towards the ceiling. Exhale, let the breath bring you back to your first down dog of the practice. Keeping it gentle as we move through 8 pointed pose, lowering the knees, the chest, and the chin. Sliding onto the belly, lifting up into a cobra. Listen carefully here. Lower from your cobra, keep your forehead down, lift your legs up so it's like the bottom half of locust pose. Lower down, shift through all 4s, tuck the toes, return to down dog. Looking forward, left foot will step forward, right knee will melt down. Inhale, arms are reaching up. And of course, the flowers are also a reminder that beauty, life, freshness, hands down, step the right foot forward to meet the left, are all precious because they're fleeting. Sweep the arms out and up. They're impermanent. Hands to heart center. One more just like that. Release the arms. Take your inhale, standing tall in your mountain. Exhale, bring the palms of the hands together, position 1. Reaching the arms forward, up and back, bend at the top is 2. And then folding over the legs, 3. We'll lead with the right as you step the right foot to the back of the mat. Right knee melts down. Inhale, breath up. Exhaling, hands down, step the left foot back down, dog. Once again, knees, chest, and chin, lowering knees. Chest, chin, Ashtangasana. Sliding to the belly, lifting from the back of the heart for your cobra. Lowering out of the cobra, keeping the forehead on the mat, floating the legs up in a locust. Lowering the legs down, shifting up and back, downward facing dog. Stepping right foot forward, melting left knee down, recognizing, inhaling that you are as precious as a blooming flower. Hands down, left foot forward, fold in, and you are also as impermanent as a blooming flower. Sweep the arms out and all the way up. Hands into heart center. Adding on slightly, release the arms, standing tall, take your in-breath for mountain. Exhale, position 1, palms of the hands find their way together, heart center. Reaching the arms forward, up, back, bend at the top is 2. Folding over the legs is 3. Stepping left foot to the back of the mat. Lowering the left knee down. Plant your left palm, reach your right arm up towards the ceiling, revolving your Anjaneyasana. We're going to play a little bit with that blooming energy. So we're going to start to move into a quadricep bind here, lifting the back shin and foot, finding the top of the left foot. And we're going to start tight like a seed. So I want you to square your shoulders and hips to the front of your mat. Pull your left heel tightly in towards your glutes, making the body compact, as tight as a seed. Pelvis is still heavy. Take 2 more breaths right here. And we're going to bloom open like a flower. So you might need to flip your grip as I'm doing, moving my hand to the pinky side edge of my left foot. I start to let my body open up, letting my right shoulder lift towards the ceiling, find a back bend in my spine. You might even turn your right toes out a little bit, blooming like you're turning towards the sun. Take 1 more full inhale here. And then we'll step it straight back to our downward facing dog. As the right hand comes down, step it back, downward facing dog. Same vinyasa pattern, keeping that Ashtangasana, knees, chest, and chin. Sliding to the belly. Keep the elbows tucked in as you rise to your Bhujangasana Cobra. Controlling the descent out of your Cobra. Forehead stays down as you power up the low back, lifting the legs in locust. Release. Shifting up and back, finding downward facing dog. Taking a breath in. Flower. Breath out. Fresh. Stepping the left foot forward, melting the right knee down, right palm either on a block or on the mat, left arm to ceiling, revolving that Anjaneyasana. And then starting to make our way into that quadricep stretch by lifting the back shin and the foot, finding the bind, and beginning by making a tight little bud-like embodiment. So the body becomes very compact. Really squaring the shoulders and the hip points, drawing the right heel in towards the back of the pelvis. And then we take the complete opposite energy as we begin to bloom open, probably needing to flip the grip to the pinky side edge here, turning the left toes out as you lean back and open the body, allowing it to become as expansive, broad, every petal of your body opening up as fully as possible in this moment. And then gently releasing that back foot, left hand comes to the mat, stepping right foot forward to meet the left as you fold in, forward fold. And then rising up to our mountain pose. And hands to heart center. We'll take one more sun salutation, inhaling to release the arms, find that mountain energy. Exhaling, bringing hands into heart center, connecting with that sense of freshness. Reaching the arms forward, up and back. 2. Folding. 3. Leading with the right, we'll step the right foot back. Keep the right knee lifted because we're going to stay in a high lunge orientation this time. Planting the right hand again on block or floor. Lifting that left arm up to revolve the high lunge. Take a couple of breaths here. See if you can invite the left hip back towards the back of your mat. Keep lifting the right thigh away from the surface of your mat. And we're going to drop into our Cleopatra as we turn our left toes all the way to face the long edge of the mat. Let the right heel melt down and then drop the right hip towards the mat as you reach your left arm towards the back of your mat space. Take 2 breaths here. Shrug your right shoulder away from your right earlobe. One more inhale here. We're going to spin all the way around to Skandasana skater's pose. So left hand comes all the way around. I'm going to drop my right heel and find my skater's position. You could keep this pretty high or you could take it really nice and low, depending on what feels good to you. Wherever you are, left hand is going to be down, right arm is going to come up. If you're really low, left arm could come a little wider as you reach the right arm up. And again, trying to tap into that energy of getting open, of blooming, moving from the seed, from the compact structure of the body into an expansive, wide shape. Taking yourself to the front of your mat, return to your high lunge, keeping your hands down. Coming into a version of praying mantis pose. We're going to shift the weight forward. Keep your torso glued to your left thigh as you shift your weight forward, and then start to lift your right leg up towards the ceiling at a diagonal. Stabilize your balance, and then if you feel comfortable, reach one arm back towards your right toes. Maybe the second arm joins. Breathing for 3. For 2. And then lowering one hand to the mat, second hand to the mat, step it straight back to your downward facing dog. We'll keep the same vinyasa pattern we've had the whole practice thus far. Knees, chest, and chin, 8-pointed pose. Sliding to the belly. Strong cobra, elbows tucked in. Controlled descent. Shalabhasana legs float up and release. Shifting up and back, downward facing dog. Allowing your practice to feel fresh, not asking too much of your practice to showing up, basking in full presence. We'll step the right foot to the front of the mat. Keep that left knee lifted. Left hand could be on a block or on the mat as you start to revolve your high lunge. Take a moment here to invite that right hip to slide back a little bit, lengthening the side body, lifting that left thigh away from the surface of the mat. Then peeling open into Cleopatra, right toes turn to the right, left heel drops, left side body melts down as the right arm reaches back. Keep the left shoulder shrugged away from the left earlobe. One more full in-breath. And then all the way around to Skandasana. Right arm lifts, pivoting around, left heel finds the mat. Again, you could stay quite high here or drop low. Right arm is going to come down. Left arm is going to reach up wherever you are. Seeing yourself as a flower, which is really like a way to return to our youthfulness, return to that childlike quality within us. And start to pivot and turn to the front of the mat. Take a moment and I want you to feel, you can really see it on this side, my torso is like super glued to the top of my right thigh. So as I shift forward, I keep that connection of torso to thigh, but start to float my left leg up at a diagonal. So my body kind of looks like a seesaw. Once I establish my balance, I reach one arm back. Maybe the second arm joins. 3, 2, and then both hands rediscover the mat. Left foot comes down to meet the right, forward fold. Sweeping the arms out and up. And hands into heart center. Take a moment to release the arms alongside you. Close your eyes for a brief micro meditation. Breathing in, I see myself as a flower. Breathing out, I feel fresh. Flower. Fresh. I'll start to blink open the eyes as we do a few standing poses. I'm preparing to come. I'm just facing you so you can see this a bit better. You can stay at the front of your mat space. Preparing the feet how you want them for chair pose. So some people like to keep a little space. Some people like the big toes touch with the heels apart. So you decide what orientation feels best in your body. Start to sink the hips down, finding your chair pose. Let your arms come alongside you today with your pinky fingers reaching up and back. Now, similar to how we started the practice by linking our movement to our breath, really synchronizing, we're going to do that here with chair pose and yogi squat. So as you inhale, arms sweep forward and up, rising up onto your tiptoes. As you come down, you're going to drop the heels. You're going to feel your chair for a moment. Take an in-breath in your chair. And then exhale, keep riding the breath down, sweep the arms back, find a yogi squat. In-breath in, press back up to your chair. Arms are parallel to the floor, heels drop. Take a breath in, stay right here. Take a breath out, stay here. Inhale, stand up, rising to the balls of the feet. Prapadasana, tiptoe pose. Exhale, heels melt down, arms forward, find your chair. We're going to take a breath in our chair. Breathing in. I'm just shifting to the front of my mat. Breathing out, ride the breath down. Sweep the arms back. Let the breath pick you up. Return to your chair pose. One breath in. Listen carefully. Exhale, I want you to lift your right knee. Take a moment, just energetically pull that right knee up. Arms are still straight forward. Oh, I should not have turned my head. We're going to step back, finding a lunge, and immediately open to warrior 2. Right arm comes out, right heel spins down. We're going to take an elevated side angle. So even if you can go lower, for right now, I want you to stay high. Take your left forearm to your left thigh. Reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. Now we're going to take a half bind here. So internally rotate the top arm and start to invite the right hand to find the low back. Or if it naturally comes to the left side of your waist or discovers your left thigh, great. Not forcing it, just if that's a natural outcome. While you take 2 more breaths here, I want you to keep softening the right shoulder back and think of pivoting your heart up towards the ceiling. Beautiful. We're going to shift forward into half moon pose. So pivot your gaze down to the mat, lower your left hand down to the mat, shift forward, find your half moon pose. You're still in that half bind with that right arm. Begin to bend your right knee, reach your right arm back, see if you can find the top of your right foot. Flip your grip to the big toe side edge, and then much like we did in our sun salutations, try to bloom open the body. Let the right shoulder melt down and away. Gently push the right foot into the right hand. And then tricky, 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 we're gonna rise up and get into a tight seed of eagle pose at the front of our mat. So you start to rise up to standing. Right foot and leg crosses over left, right arm under left. Find your wrapped tight seed. And then for today, explore getting really low and really tight in your eagle pose. Maybe elbows and knees connect. And then as you unravel one final pose, interlace the hands in front of your right shin, lift your right knee, and then lean back slightly. Let your pelvis draw forward. Think of your body almost moving into a back bend as you hug the right knee and shin in. And then gently come out. Release that right foot with control if you can. And take a moment, feeling both feet on the ground. Maybe feeling a lot of sensation in that left leg that just did some incredible work for you. Breathing in gratitude and appreciation for the strength of that left leg. And again, just seeing if you can approach your practice not from a place of clinging or striving, but from a place of appreciating. Of just being in the presence of the freshness of your practice. I'm going to start to do that sequence on the second side, beginning with that chair flow. So if you need to adjust your feet at all, go ahead and do so. And then as you inhale, we're going to sweep the arms forward and up, finding our Prapadasana tiptoe pose. And then the arms come down parallel to the floor, heels down, melt into your chair, where we pause for a full breath in and pause for a full breath out. You take another breath in here, and then you ride the breath down into a yogi squat, sweeping the arms back. You ride the breath back up, returning to your chair. Pause for a breath, holding in and out. Inhale, rising up one more time through that. Feeling the balance on the tiptoes. Controlling and synchronizing breath and movement back to chair. Breathing in. Breathing out. Take one more breath in, keeping the spine straight and beautifully upright. Descend down to your yogi squat, arms sweep back. And then arms sweep forward back into your chair. Last breath in chair, breathing in. Breathing out. Standing on that right leg, lifting left knee up and into the chest. Energetically drawing that knee up and in as much as possible. And then stepping the left foot to the back of the mat. Take a moment to find your high lunge. Open it up to warrior two. Staying in a high side angle. Even if you know you could go lower today, keep it high. Right forearm to thigh, left arm to ceiling. Internally rotate the top left arm. And invite the hand to the low back. Maybe it keeps sliding around to the waist or the right thigh. As you breathe here, welcome in that embodiment of the flower, blooming open, fresh. knowing that what you can do in this pose is precious and also impermanent. You will not always be able to practice this pose this way. Start to turn your head down towards your mat. Half moon pose, right fingertips come down, launching yourself forward and up into your Ardha Chandrasana. As you take a couple of breaths here, you're inviting in that energy of a blooming flower. And start to bend your top left knee. Reach the left arm back to find the foot. You want to have the grip where you're holding onto the big toe side here. And then invite in that feeling of a flower. You have the nature of flowerness in you. Let it manifest. One more breath here. And then moving into that bud-like position of eagle pose, rising up, trying to control the transition as you wrap the legs and the arms. And then for today, we're making our body as condensed and compact as possible. And then last pose in the sequence, unraveling, interlacing the fingers onto the left shin, lifting that knee up and in, letting the pelvis rock forward, almost like a standing back bend. Ooh. Wiggle, wiggle. And then releasing down, finding both feet on the earth, releasing the arms. Just watching and witnessing any sensation in that standing right leg, appreciating its incredible effort. We'll take a sun salutation to the mat as we sweep the arms out and up, and folding over the legs. Inhale, lifting up halfway. Walking back to plank. One opportunity for a chaturanga today. This is all you get. So if you want it, take that chaturanga. Find an upward facing dog if that feels good. Final down dog of the practice. And then we're going to come to shift all the way onto the abdomen for locust pose. So shifting forward, you might pass through a plank and a chaturanga on your way to the mat, elongating the arms alongside you. I'm going to sit upright for this just so that my voice is clear and you can hear me, but please bring your forehead to the mat, palms down on the mat, legs extended and reaching towards the back of your mat space. We're going to begin by segregating or separating the pose into the front half and the back half to begin with. So give yourself a full breath in. Let a full natural breath out. And then we'll begin to lift the head, the neck, the chest, the shoulders, the upper portion of the body, and allow the arms to float up as well. And as the arms float up, I want you to think of reaching your fingertips towards the very bottom tip of your mat. And then imagine there's like whatever your favorite flower is. Maybe it's a dahlia or a hydrangea or a daisy or a rose in the center of your chest, blooming open, and create as much space in the front of your chest for that blooming flower as possible. Take one more full inhale. And then exhale, let all of that go as you slowly soften, returning to the mat. Keep your forehead on the mat. Take a full breath in here and a full breath out. You're going to shift your awareness to the lower half of the pose, and as you inhale, start to lift your legs, your shins, your knees, maybe even a little bit of your thighs off of the mat. Forehead is still down, just isolating that bottom half of the pose, breathing here. This is part of the flower as well. So allowing that to be as expansive, having growth potential in that part of the body. Take one more in-breath here. And then exhale without collapsing, a slow, controlled descent of that lower half of the pose. And then one time to coordinate the efforts of two sides of our locust pose. So breathing in fully and breathing out completely. And then together beginning to lift the two sides of the pose, rising up into the full extent of your locust pose. Taking 3 breaths here, allowing the nature of the flowerness within you to manifest fully. 2. One more in-breath. And then place the palms underneath your shoulders. Press up onto all fours. And allow yourself to move into some big hip circles here in a clockwise direction. Trying to make this as circular as possible. It's very easy to go forward and back, but really trying to access the sides of this movement. We're going to start to move into a pigeon pose. So the next time you slide forward, your right knee can slide forward with you, right shin can spin forward, and then extend your left tail feathers towards the back of your mat. Go ahead and melt yourself forward. And then energetically, I want you to just do a couple of things. These are very minute. They're really more internal cues. You're not going to see a lot change on the external of the pose. I want you to invite or encourage your right hip to extend or grow towards the back of your mat. So think of that right hip actually being drawn back. And then as you maintain that energy of the right hip pulling back, I want you to let the left hip and the left thigh melt forward. If you imagine a vase of flowers, we're going to be here about 5 more breaths. You come home from a really tough day at work. And you walk in, and the flowers are just there for you. They're not asking anything of you. They're just there, blooming, beautiful, fresh. And maybe they immediately bring a smile to your face. The flowers are just fully present, just taking in whatever your reality is, and they're just offering their full, fresh beauty in response. And oftentimes when people come to us, last breath here, you're going to make your way back up to all fours, and you're going to start to once again make those big hip circles, but this time in a counterclockwise direction. So once you get to all fours, moving in that counterclockwise circle. You think so many times when we go or come to people that we love greatly, either they come to us or we go to them, either with good news or sad news or hard news. And often the response we get is one of like fixing, or there's the feeling of needing to do something from the other person. Sliding forward into your pigeon on the second side. Left knee slides forward, left shin slides forward, right tail feathers extend back. And as you find your way, we're about almost a minute here in this pose. Same cues. Left hip is drawing or growing towards the back of the mat. Right hip and thigh melting forward. When often in relationships with people, all we're looking for is to be seen. We're just looking for the other person's presence. We're looking for a bit of their beauty to be reflected back onto us. That is what it means to embody the nature of flowerness. To let that flower quality manifest in you. On your next breath, walking the hands up, we're going to extend the legs forward so you can let the weight of the body drop onto the left hip. Extend both legs forward. We're coming onto our spine, so as you reach the arms forward, just make sure you have enough space behind you to safely come onto your back. And for a brief moment, I want you to bring the knees into the chest, again, like that tight flower seed. So feeling that energy of, it's really an energy of like potential, compact potential. And I like that actually what we're most aware of in this pose is often like the belly, the abdomen, and the pelvis, which is actually where like life originates for humanity. So very aware of kind of like the budding nature of human potential in this pose. And then in these final few minutes of practice, we'll begin to shift into Shavasana. If you'd like to take like reclined butterfly, you could bring the soles of the feet together, the knees wide, maybe hands on the belly. Or if you prefer a more traditional Shavasana position, by all means, please go there. When we practice with the first item of the Pebble meditation, we remember that we embody the qualities of a real flower. We remember that our humanness is precious. We remember that just like the bloom of a beautiful flower, our humanness is impermanent. We reconnect with that feeling of freshness, youth, and vitality. And we reconnect with the undeniable truth of our beauty. Breathing in, I see myself as a flower. Breathing out, I feel fresh. Flower, fresh. With your next breath, you can invite your body to begin to gently wiggle fingers and toes, and the breath itself can become more invigorating. And then using the next several breaths, you can continue awakening the body until you eventually make your way back up to a comfortable seat. To close the practice, we bring the palms of the hands either somewhere on the body as a gesture of gratitude, or palms come together. And we ask that the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light, which sounds like this in the language of Sanskrit. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Victory to our practices. Chai. So I will say that we're going to continue, as I mentioned, the next 3 weeks to work with this series. So next week, we're going to be working with solidity and stability, which is in the quality of the mountain, which is the second pebble of the pebble meditation. So that's what we will work with next week. And I will record this whole series. So if you can't catch every class live, it will all be eventually on my page. So